Hi, this is Kaizer.
And this is Zach.
In today's video, we'll share with you 3 major challenges that our client face when upgrading from HDB to a resale condo and our solution to overcome them. Everything we discuss here is important to you, especially if you're in a similar situation or about to embark on this upgrading journey. Don't do it without a proper guide or knowledge, because some of these issues, if you don't handle them well, you could end up homeless. Without further ado, let's go! Some background story. Recently, Zach and I have been working with a client to do sell one buy two. The plan is to sell off the HDB and upgrade to a resale condo for their family. And the wife will buy a second property for investment purposes under her own name. However, the sequence of events was reversed. Instead of selling the HDB and move to a resale condo, we went to purchase the investment property first. In case you are curious about what we bought, do check out this video right here. Now, some of you may ask, what's the issue right here? Is it that they need to pay ABSD? No, they don't have to pay ABSD because the wife is the essential occupier and their HDB is already MOP. The wife can now freely buy another property under her own name without paying ABSD. The issue here is that our client is a young couple in their 30s and they don't have much CPF accumulation in their OA account, but they do have a decent amount of cash savings on hand. Because of that, we have allocated a big chunk of cash for the investment purchase due to limited CPF OA money. In other words, our client wiped out most of their cash savings for the investment property purchase. This is where things become tricky and several issues arise as a result. So the very first challenge is the initial 5%. When you buy a private property, the first 5% must be in cash. The 1% option fee plus the 4% exercise fee, you cannot use CPF for that. And there's another catch. If you are buying a resale property, the buyer's stamp duty has to be in cash as well, even though you can reimburse yourself with your CPF money later. Now let's take a look at our client's case. The husband intends to get a 3-bedroom resale condo at around $1.4 million budget. The cash amount required adds up to around $110,000. As mentioned at the beginning, we spent a huge chunk of cash on the investment purchase, and now the husband doesn't have enough money for this portion. The main bulk of capital, including the cash proceeds and the CPF refund, is still locked in our current HDB flat. Without selling it off, we won't have access to this fund to pay for the initial 5% for the resale condo. Therefore, selling HDB and unlocking the fund is our next step. But this gives rise to the next issue, which is the transition gap. In most upgrading cases, we will do the selling and buying concurrently. The standard timeline will look something like this, but I'm not gonna go through everything. Generally, when a buyer exercises the OTP, it means that our HDB flat is considered sold, and now our name is freed up. We can go and buy the next property without paying ABSD. This is the time where we will go ahead and purchase our next resale condo. But this is only feasible when you have the 1% plus 4% and the buyer stamp duty ready in cash. Otherwise, this is a no-go, which means to say this standard timeline does not apply to our client's case, and instead it will look something like this. The condo buying portion can only begin when we receive our CPF refund and the cash proceeds. We spoke to our client. Moving back to their parents' place is not possible, and as much as possible, we will not go to the renting route. Technically speaking, we will be officially homeless at this point before our next home is ready. This is a serious problem as the transition period is extremely tight for us. We only have less than 3 months to find our next home and move in. What if we have nothing to buy after our HDB has been sold off? That's why I said in the beginning, if this is not handled well, our client and their family might end up sleeping in the park. Now, the third challenge that our client faces is not enough loan. Earlier on, I mentioned that our client is a young couple, they are in their 30s. One of the advantages they have is their age. They are able to qualify for the maximum 30-year loan tenure. But the problem here is that the husband's income is not high enough to obtain the maximum loan that we require for the $1.4 million purchase. My client doesn't want to borrow money from their families, their friends, or their relatives, and worst case, borrow from Along. What can they do to make up for this shortfall in their loan amount? Before we continue, do us a favor, tap the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Like I said in the previous video, we are focusing on producing content to help resale buyers on the market because we realize there's a severe lack of information and resources out there as compared to new launches. We are also trying out new stuff whereby we share our clients' case study, like what are the real life challenges and struggles that they face in their upgrading journey, and how do we help them to overcome all these challenges, so that when you're caught in the same situation or encounter something similar, at least you know what to do. Lastly, if you have any property related questions, do post them in the comment section below. If the questions are too personal and sensitive, do contact us privately. Let's get back to the video.
So now, in the first challenge that our client is facing after purchasing an investment property first without selling their existing HDB, this means that the cash set aside for the first step of upgrading will be deployed first before getting back the funds from the sale. This results in having to upfront the 5% cash and buyer's stamp duty in cash. In order to find the additional 5% and buyer's stamp duty in cash without having to borrow from their parents, relatives, or friends, I think one solution is to get a bridging loan from the bank to bridge the cash portion using the supposedly cash proceeds from the sale. But you need to take note, not all banks are willing to provide this cash loan, and only some can help to bridge the 4% exercise fee with a long dated option of 6 to 8 weeks. And with the long dated option, usually the seller will request more than 1%, and some banks may also offer to bridge the cash upfront for buyer's stamp duty. So in this case, the minimum amount they must prepare is the 1% option fee, or to play really safe, 1% option fee and buyer's stamp duty in cash. So in the second part of the problem that Kaizer mentioned, in order to have a smooth transition and our client do not end up being homeless or no place to stay during renovation, the most straightforward way is to have 3 months extension after sale. In case you're not aware, this is part of the negotiation in the deal, so not every seller will grant you this option. In addition, we will need to prolong the condo purchase timeline so that our clients will receive their cash proceeds and CPF refund in time to pay for their next home. This is important because condo purchase is more flexible in its exercise and completion period, while HDB has a standard SOP of 21 days option period, 28 days for resale application approval, and 8 weeks of completion period. So this is not easy. In order for this to go through smoothly, it requires experience to handle this well, and we are pretty confident to assist our clients in this timeline planning. So finally, in the last part of this problem that the client is facing, as the client is looking to purchase a 1.4 million resale condo, the loan amount needed is 1.5 million, but his IPA only can obtain around 730,000 based on his current income. There is a shortfall of $320,000. To make up for this shortfall, our client can consider one of the 3 options below. Number 1, pledging. He will need to put down $137,000, a fixed D with the bank for 4 years with prevailing interest rate. Some people think that this is not a flexible option because you cannot touch or withdraw for 4 years. Number 2, unpledging, which also known as show fund. The amount is about 3 times more than pledging, around $454,000 in this scenario. Even though the figure may seem large, but this is rather popular among many people as you don't have to put this amount with the bank. The show fund amount can be in the form of cash, stocks, or other assets accepted by the bank. You simply need to show them 2 times, once at application and another time at disbursement, and this is extremely flexible. Number 3, you can use a mixture of both methods, pledging and show fund, and this will help you to reduce the amount being locked in and also to show lesser amount of unpledging funds. So either one of these will be able to cover the shortfall for our client's loan amount for his condo purchase. With all these challenges and concerns, we will manage this accordingly with our experience.
Now let's do a recap. For the initial cash portion, we can utilize a bridging loan to cover for the shortfall. However, the first 1% option fee must come out from our client's pocket, and the remaining 4% can be covered by the bridging loan. As for buyer's stamp duty, only certain banks can grant you bridging loan on that, so it is still feasible. So the first challenge is solved. Secondly, the timeline. HDB timeline is very standard and it is longer. What we will do for our client is to negotiate a longer purchase timeline for the condo purchase so that we have enough time to receive the CPF refund and the cash proceeds needed for the condo purchase. At the same time, we will also negotiate a 3-month extension stay for our sellers. So during this transition period, our client will have a place to stay and will not end up homeless. This is very complex. We will be hand-holding our client throughout the entire journey to make sure everything is in line with our planning. And number 3, there are 3 ways to increase our client's loan amount for the condo purchase. Firstly, it's going to be pledging. You put a certain amount of money with the bank for 4 years. And secondly, you will be unpledging show funds, which is a more flexible options. And then number 3, it is going to be a mixture of both. You show some and you pledge some. Our client can choose either one of these options based on their preference to make up for the shortfall in their loan amount for the condo purchase. And no need to go to Along. Now, as you can see, upgrading from HDB to a condo is not so straightforward. Every client we met have their own sets of struggles and challenges. If you're currently going through a similar situation or encounter something similar, we hope our sharing has been useful to you. Alternatively, if you're still fearful or uncertain about the whole upgrading process, feel free to contact us via the numbers below. We'll be happy to work with you. That's it for this video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.